There we go. Very excited to be here today and to meet all of you, or at least see you. I see some faces. I'm here today to talk about a topic that is very close to my heart, and I think most of you have heard this or might hear it like every day almost now. To how can we work smarter, not harder, especially as freelancers, solopreneurs, consultants, or independent workers, where we are one man or one woman, a one woman show, because it's a lot to do, right? And these automation tools and AI tools that are coming out now allow us to do so much more, or actually do less, but get more done. And specifically, I'm going to talk today about how you can work smarter, not harder, with sales and marketing. And why am I here? Why am I going to talk about that? Let me see if I can change my slide. Okay, there we go. I'm here today to talk about this because as a founder and CEO of Upbeater, we have spent the past 6 months looking into how you can work, into how we can work more efficiently with sales and marketing, developing something called, like Marcia said, human AI managers for freelancers. I'll mention a little bit more about what we do at the end, but for the sake of this presentation, so you don't wonder why I'm here talking about this, I'm also a serial entrepreneur where this is my third company now. I am myself a business and innovation consultant, so I do work with as a consultant or as a freelancer whenever I have time or the opportunity to also stay close to the market. When I do help companies with business and market strategy, and lately more so with business optimization or automation. I am a coach. I don't like that word really, but I coach people when it comes to career development, and especially freelancers and startups, how they can grow their business. I also lecture sometimes, for example, in I have a freelance foundation course, and also been giving university lectures, a lecture on how to navigate in the gig economy. And more importantly, I'm on a mission, both personally and professionally, to create a more flexible and free future of work. And if you're here today, I think that you pretty much align with that statement. Most of us do. Most of us choose to work remotely or as freelancers or independent workers because of this. And this is something that I'm very passionate about, and that is very close to my heart, because freelancing in itself, now I'm cluster all the words under here, like I said, giggers, consultants, solopreneurs, independent workers. But this way of working allows you to live the life you want, even remote working, even if you're working full-time, but you're a remote worker. It allows you to design the way you want to live life instead of adapting your life to a job. But of course, as we all know, if you are a solopreneur, if you work by yourself, there's also a lot of things you should do. So even if it can feel very free and flexible, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, and you can become stressed, because all these things you should do by yourself. You should know them, you should learn or upskill, you should manage them, you should deliver things. And this is a very simplified time allocation that what we see freelancers spend their time on, but it's also very common. And you usually start freelancing because you want to do what you're good at, and you want to work with clients and deliver just that. But that's only maximum one third of the time that you get to spend on that. Other times go to back office stuff, like the most what most people think are the most boring things, such as finances, legal, operational stuff. But also you need to promote yourself, and even though people don't really spend 1/3 of their time doing that, that's something that we recommend, because where does your client come from otherwise? Usually they don't just fall into your lap. For some people they might, and if you're one of the people who get them just coming to you, then congratulations, you're doing something right. But for the rest of us, even though we might be lucky with some projects or some customers, we have to do some work to get clients to know about us and come to us. And before I hop into talking more about that, I want to know a little bit about how you feel about self-promotion. Is it something that you do? In that case, how does it make you feel? You can scan this code or go to menti.com, and you have the code under here as well. And just, it's a word cloud, so just enter whatever word comes to mind. For example, do you think it's hard? Do you think it's scary? Or does it make you feel excited? Or is it fun? Whatever comes to mind. Let's see, maybe I hopped too quickly. Okay, great. So we have a few words popping up here. Yeah, it's unknown, necessary, yeah. Exciting, awkward, yeah, a very good one. Nervous, yeah, hard. Anxious, frustrating, could be, yeah. Scary, perplexing. Yeah, so good mix of feelings here about self-promotion. And honestly, like most of these, except one person or one word here is exciting, which is great to see that someone thinks it's exciting. But most of the times, you are not alone in feeling these negative feelings or emotions related to self-promotion, because it is hard. And when we survey our freelancers, 72% of freelancers say they struggle with sales, and over 50% say they struggle with marketing. And these are even like people who work with sales and marketing, but when the question was to do it for yourself, right? It's a different story to do it for your clients, and then you have to do it for yourself, and that can be like what some of you said, awkward or scary. But again, so what does it means to do self-promotion, and why is it needed? Well, why is it needed? Because this is a desired scenario we see freelancers think, and I admire this. It's a wishful thinking. I wish it worked like this. That is a pretty straight line from customers when they don't know about you to you send them one thing. When I say message here, when I refer to message here, I mean it can be a direct message, it can be a post on social media, it can be an ad. So anything that make your customer aware about you. So they do one thing, and then the customer should feel, yes, I want this, and then the customer come to you and say, I'm down, I'm buying it. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. And if you work with marketing, you probably heard of the marketing rule of 7. Nowadays, we talk about the marketing rule of 20 even, or even more. And this refers to both marketing and sale. I go between the two words here. When it comes to sale, it might be a few fewer steps, just because you already identified the leads before. But in general, it's the same. And this rule refer to the need of constant reminders and repeated exposure. So while we do want to just announce, hey, I'm here once, and then customer come and buy from us, it's more likely to look something like this. Customers don't know about you, and for the first 3 times you try to reach them, or you try to make a post, or you create an ad, people are mildly gonna, if they notice you, they are mildly gonna recognize your attempt, and maybe pay mild attention, but they easily forget about it as well, especially with everything that we see, and all the messages we have around us today. After the fourth to fifth time, we see a split in people, and this is a good split, even though it can feel very scary to have people, the upper part here, feel get slightly irritated, because if they are not interested in your offer, they're gonna start to get annoyed if you start to contact them again and again with your offering. However, the other part that you and these are the people that you're going to hear from, even though you don't want to hear from them, it's really good to get that message as well, that they are not interested, so you can let them go. You don't have to focus on them anymore, and maybe you take with you some learnings to start to identify more and more your audience, or they give you some constructive feedback why they're not interested. But what we want to focus on is the other part, and this is the harder part. And why I'm saying this is that they are the right target audience when they start to question things, when they start to research things around your offer, when they start to create a budget for it, and actually start to think about, can I afford this, and start to feel that I want this. But most of the time, unfortunately, they're not going to tell you that they are doing this. So when you don't hear anything, that's when you have to continue to send messages and continue to remind people of your offer, that you exist and what you are offering and what they are missing out on. On top of that, you have all the different things that comes into play as well. The offer that you are sending out, have put together, the price that you are selling it for, the perceived value, the timing that you send the message or post something, the channel that you use, the message in itself, like how do you communicate, and also the competition. These are things that you have to A/B test on top of sending all the messages to find the perfect mix for you. So how can you do all this by yourself when you're just one person, while you still need to also run your business and deliver the client work? Well, first of all, I want to say, make it manageable, meaning that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can, for example, double down on one channel, and I would pick the channel where your clients are most active. That's what rule of thumb that I would go with. And it's more important to be consistent and be there at that one channel than be everywhere. Of course, it's great if you have ability to be on more channels, especially if your clients are on more channels. But if you don't, make it manageable. Choose one channel. You can also repurpose content, and I think most of you have heard about this, or maybe you even do that. But if you create one post or something, that a text, you can also create an image from it, can break it into smaller snippets. Same with videos. So use content that you already created, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel with creating new content all the time. Also, when you do create content in batches. So if you have a blog, like sit down and create a bunch of content. And you can also create content related to a content series. So for example, if you have a theme that you are talking about, then keep that theme and create a series with content related to that theme. Now, this might sound really marketing related, but again, everything I talk about is self-promotion, so it goes across sales and marketing. When we talk about channels, for example, it might be when it comes to sale, do you use email, or do you use phone calls, or do you use LinkedIn? Versus marketing, do you use LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or email? And then use what you got is my second tips here. To boost visibility and credibility, you already have a lot of great things. We are so quick to forget about what we have, because that's already been said and done. But again, think about that. People forget. So if you've done something great, and I think I can bet that everyone here has at least one thing that they have done really good, and emphasize that. Emphasize success. Blow it out of proportion and repeat it. Post it over and over again. You don't have to say exactly the same words. You can tweak it a little bit, but use the assets that you're proud of. And then use proven tactics. Look at other people. What are they doing well, and copy them. Then also get social proof. Social proof is something that can increase our visibility and especially credibility. So it can be also a small thing. We try to overthink. We tend to overthink things. So when we come to social proof, if you've done something good, if someone says like just a simple thank you for helping me with this, or you did a good job with this, or a really great talk, or whatever it is that someone can say about something small that you did. And then give, because that's something that you have as well. You have the ability to give. And when you give, people can do that. People can easily come and say, thank you for helping me with this. And also it will come back to you. I'm not saying like give a lot of free stuff all the time. That's not what we are talking about. But if you're able to give an advice or leave a helpful comment, something like that, or help a client out with something extra. Again, it doesn't have to be super big, but when you get the mentality of giving, the other things will become easier as well. And then to the point of this talk today, as the third point here, and my favorite topic, automate it. Because again, we are one person, we can't do everything by ourselves. So how can you automate it? Well, there are many ways to do it. And I'm going to go in and talk about how we do it a little bit more specifically here at Upbeater. This is actually a real visual view of, or sneak peek of, how we have built Sales Sarah, one of our 2 human AI managers that we have live right now. And what we have built is sort of an agentic workflow or automated flow. And I don't know if everyone is familiar with the word agentic, but I was just at the Building the Future with AI event here in Portugal, for example, and this is all that they talk about nowadays. Agentic is the difference between AI agents or AI assistants and agentic AI is that when you go to an AI assistant, for example, ChatGPT, you ask them, you can ask questions and you can get feedback and you can bounce ideas, but it's on demand from you, right? And it can do one task and it can reply to that. You can build, of course, a little bit more advanced agents, train them with your own content, but still trained on your content to do one task. When we talk about agentic AI, it's pretty much a built, an automated system where you can connect different tools and different AI and automation tools, so that one AI or AI agent can do multiple things, not just on request, but it can autonomously do the next step and next step and next step. And then it also improves over time. So how we have built it here is that, and I also included tools that we use when we have built this. We have built it in a way that first we do a setup with our clients. So when we get a new client, we get a freelancer who wants help from Sales Sarah. Then we collect some information. For us, we use Typeform to do this. And of course, if you do it for yourself, you wouldn't need to collect the information in a Typeform. But I still recommend you to ask yourself these questions, write them down. It can be questions like, what are you offering? What are you selling and to who? And then also, what are your goals with this? What do you want to achieve? Then based on that, we throw that into our ChatGPT Pro that we have built, agent that we have built, to create sales pitch for that freelancers. You create a sales pitch for yourself. Then you identify the ideal client profile. And then also we specifically ask for communication style. These are things that you can ask yourself as well. And I also want to say that you don't need to, of course, have this check-in that we do, the approval and review process when it comes to these red boxes, but I do think it is very helpful. So after we have done this, we sent, and we do that in, like I said, ChatGPT, and then we create a camera presentation that we send to our freelancers for them to review and approve it, because we don't want to do anything without their approval. And also good to know if we're off track, right? So this is a good check for yourself as well, even if you don't feel like you need to. It's always good to have these like check-in points. Once we've gotten that approval, then we go ahead and do what we call like the second part of the strategy, or the monthly work, so to say, where we start to build a lead list based on the ideal client profile that we have identified. And we build this lead list specifically now. We use LinkedIn and also a tool called LeadView. And then we create messages. We create 2 for LinkedIn and 3 emails. We are also creating using our sales assistant in ChatGPT. Same here, we do a check with the freelancer. Do they think this lead list is good? Is there anyone they don't want us to contact? We remove, we learn from that. Same as the messages. Is this on the way you want to communicate? Once we have an approval for that, the actual automation of outreach starts. So we then, like I said, set up a sequence of 2 LinkedIn messages that goes out, followed by 3 emails. And why we do 5 here is that going back to what we talked about before, in sales, it requires a little bit fewer steps than in marketing. If we talk about marketing rule of 7, right? Here we have seen that in sales, after 5 times, if no one replies after 5 times, 80% of people that reply within 5 times. If they haven't replied after 5 times, they're probably not interested. You can continue going, of course, with however many messages as you like. We just want to avoid also, since we represent and do this for freelancers, that they come across as a bit spammy. We try to spread this out also over a period of 3 weeks, so it happens automatically in the background over those weeks. If a lead replies, then we send it directly to the freelancer. And here it's also up to you, of course, if you wanna continue to build automated reply processes. But what we do here, we end it here and leave it over to the freelancer to reply however they want, so they feel like in control of the communication with the potential clients. If they don't reply, we move them to a no reply list, where what we call like a cold lead list. And the people on the cold lead list, now I didn't include it here because it would be very long and a lot, but we have a follow-up after 90 days. So we have, if a freelancer continue with us through time, we also do a follow-up after 90 days as a quarterly sort of reminder to these leads that haven't replied, to see if the timing is better. And then, and I forgot to mention, when we do the outreach, we use LeadView and Relay. I'm going to go over some of other tools that you can use and find what works best for you, but those are the tools that we have seen work best for us. At the end of the month, we do a summary where we look at the outcome in actual numbers, what has worked and like how does it actually look. And also we try to do some get some insights from that. For example, did we see that of those who replied or those who accepted your connection request, can we identify specific target audience from that? Those who said no, can we find a pattern in that? And then we also, based on that, make a suggestion for next month. Is there anything we should improve or change? That we do that. We suggest that, and when the freelancer approves, the process starts all over again. And we do a similar workflow. Now I just show you the one for sales, Sarah. We do a similar one for marketing, Maggie. Of course, it changed a little bit in the beginning, and the setup process might look the same. And also our verification and approval process looks the same. But of course, instead of like sending the messages, it would be about creating and posting content. Now, this is nothing that I'm going to go over in detail. I just wanted to show you, and you can take a print screen of this or write it down, or we will share the presentation later on. But when we looked at automation tools for sales, we specifically looked at and identified what is it that we need help with. for us, or what is it that we need to automate? For us, it was the message creation, the lead generation, and also the outreach, the automated outreach. So those here are examples of some tools that you can look into. They're not, most of them are not super expensive. The only thing to remember is that, and also some of them offer a free try or a free account up to some usage. But that's what you should remember if you use free stuff, that it can become limiting later on. So be aware of that. But otherwise, use as many free tools as you can, of course. And but otherwise, most of them are not super expensive. They might be, some of them are a little bit more expensive, but I would say up to 150 euros, starting from 0 to 150 euros. It's a spread pretty much. Of course, if you use several tools, it can quickly become expensive. So just be wary of that. When it comes to marketing, we did the same. We looked into what we need to automate and what we need to find different tools for that we can use for content creation and for automated posting, and also for chat engagements that we don't do that much right now, but we want to keep we know that we want to be able to plug in with different potential other tools that we see our freelancers use that could work very well together with Marketing Maggie. So same here, feel free to look into all these tools and find whatever works for you. Same, they are not crazy expensive, but you need to look into the different options that they offer. Finally, when it comes to automation tool, and this is my favorite playground, these are companies and solutions that offer you the possibility to automate and integrate anything and everything that you want to do. You can pretty much build it with Zapier, Make, Relay, Friends, N8N, Pipedream, Pabbly, you name it. There are many of them out there. And again, you find the one that works for you. Some people like Make better because it is more visual if you're used to that. Some like Zapier or N8N better because it's more, or Pabbly because it's more, it has more integrations and API connections. So depending on how technical you're, how visual, where you're coming from, but it allows us, and also you when you're building this, to build fully automated flow. For us, it was important because we also have the flow that I show you, but also the client communication that we need to handle. And it can be that you have a communication to yourself, like sending a ping every time something happens, right? Sending yourself a message or a notification, but also for operational efficiency. And I think that's important for you as well, to know which stage is in, because even though you can automate all of this, you also need to oversee it. First of all, you need to set it up. You need to make sure it's working properly. And then you need to oversee it so it doesn't go off and do something crazy that you don't want it to do, or that it breaks. So you need to keep an eye on it as well. Finally, my fourth point here, to how you can be smart about marketing and sales is, of course, to be consistent. And I think this is talked about also in Overload, specifically when it comes to marketing, because of the algorithms that favor consistency. But this also proves a point that when you need to remind people all the time that even of your existence, you need to be consistent in doing that. And with consistency, you will start to see better results, not just from the algorithms, but when you build your network, when you remind people of your offer and that you're here and what you do, and you keep being on top of their mind, you will have an easier time. When they think that they need a service like yours, it's likely that they will come to you. It will also help you build your network. For example, with sales, when we do lead generation month after month, we grow your base of connections that you have and people in your specific niche. That will help you get better traction later on. Because when you start to grow and focus on one client group, they will see that you have other connections in that client group, that you actually know what you're talking about, and that you are offering something that is really relatable to others. And yeah, time is money. So I really think that it's important to implement as many of these work smarter, not harder tips and tactics as possible. Because when you start to change your mind into doing so, you will save a lot of time. So I want to give you a little bit of like a few minutes here to get started with your own time-saving automation journey. Maybe you already have, and then I would be happy to hear about what you do, what you automate, and how you do it in the questions. But for the sake of this little exercise here, think about the one thing when it comes to self-promotion that is taking most time from you right now. And write it down, or write it in the chat, or say it out loud. We all have something that is blocking us. Or if it's not taking a lot of your time, it might be because you're not doing it, but you know that you should be doing it. So what is that one thing then that you don't get to? And when you have done that, it's only one thing, and you don't need to send it if you don't feel comfortable. This is for you, right? It's an exercise for you. If you do want to share, feel free to share. But you don't need to. But when you've written that down, that one thing that is taking your time, or that you don't get to because it's on your, keeps being pushed down on your to-do list, then write at least 3 things, 3 steps that you have to do to get that task done. And here it's easy to think like, oh, I just need to do it, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, okay, I need to, for example, if it's a post, I need to come up with the topic. I need to write a copy around it. I need to create an image for it. I need to maybe get feedback on it. I don't know if you work with others. And then what you need to do, you need to go post it in the channel that you're going to post it, right? Is it scheduling it? Then write down scheduling it, and then post it, and then review it. So you see, when you start to break it down, there might be several steps. For the purpose of this exercise, you just need to write 3. But I encourage you, when you start to build out your own automation flows, to actually write down as many specific steps as possible to get that task done.
I'd just say, if anyone wants to come off mute and answer the questions, feel absolutely free.
Yes, absolutely. If I'm unclear, or if you wonder something, just feel free to ask.
I can speak a little bit about my experience to answer this question. I'm thinking about number 1, and for me, I think I do a lot on LinkedIn, and posting is something that definitely takes up a lot of my time. I'm one of these people that likes to craft a post. I like to write it myself, beginning to end, make sure it's styled nicely. There's some valid points in there, really good information. And I don't really like to publish until I feel like it's genuinely providing value in a different way than a previous post has. And what I realize is that sometimes that process isn't quick. It takes maybe up to an hour to make something perfect just to put it out there. And then you realize that the most important stuff isn't really getting done, which is more actually engaging people directly, as you mentioned earlier, about messaging people, leaving comments, that sort of thing. That doesn't get done because I spend all my time actually writing posts. And you have me thinking about how I can speed up that process now.
Amazing, and thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think like, and also you bring up an interesting point here that for ourselves, like I think most of us can recognize, at least I can recognize myself in that as well. When I post for myself, I tend to overdo it. I tend to also want it to be perfect. Now I've gotten a little bit better with that. And I'm not saying don't do perfect posts or perfect content, but if you spend that amount of time on every post, and you're supposed to post X amount of times every week, or even once a day, that's a lot of time. And maybe we can find the best ROI in actually what we have seen, the consistency, like having the baseline of things that go out. It doesn't need to be of that high quality value, but it still helps to bring the algorithm up to speed. And then in between, you do this very like personal or very pieces that you have spent a little bit more time on. So yeah, and of course, feel free to continue this exercise afterwards, or whenever you are ready to automate your own flows. In the meantime, I'm gonna just continue with the last points here before we hop into open questions. But then ask yourself as a third point here, do you have the time, knowledge, interest to set it up and manage it? Because we've talked about this before, but it's almost forgotten a little bit when it comes to AI, that we should delegate, right? And the same comes with AI. You delegate, but if it's taking more of your time to actually set this up and manage it, because you're not you don't know how to use this AI tool, then I would say you should definitely learn to do that. But for example, let's say you're not a salesperson, so you find it hard to set this up anyway. Maybe you should then focus on setting this up for your actual work, so it helps you in your daily routines or daily tasks, and then get help with these other things. And that's what we have built, just to round it up here with Upbeater. So we have built a do-it-for-you solution. As I showed you, we have already built the system. So if you don't, you can copy paste what I showed you if you want to. But if you don't want to do it yourself, we are here for you as well. I've talked about Sales Sarah, that she finds and connects you with potential clients. But Marketing Maggie, like I mentioned before, we do have a similar setup where she creates and schedules social media content for you. And if you do want to try it out, as a thank you for listening and staying until the end here of my presentation, and also as a thank you to Scotland remote workers, we want to offer a special code where you can get a waived setup fee. Sorry, we have a setup fee usually of 99 euros when we start working with a client, and then you have the monthly subscription ranging between 130 to 150 euros a month, depending on how long you sign up for. But we want you to be able to get going and try it out if you want as smoothly as possible. So if you are curious about that, you can use this code Scotland RW99. And you can do that if you want to apply it. You can go to upbeater.com and you click activate. At the end of the form, will you fill in your information? When we ask you to pay, you just enter this code. And if you're curious to know more about Sales Era or Marketing Maggie, you can also book a demo on our website, and we can talk more about that. Other than that, yeah, I really appreciate you listening, and it's great to be here to talk to you about a topic that I'm very passionate about myself. And if you want to connect with me, you can go to LinkedIn, and you find me at Petra Sundell at Upbeater, or send me an email. But before I go, I really want to hear if anyone have any specific questions to the presentation or comments, or if you don't, like, how do you work with AI and automation today?
I'll share the Mentimeter in a second, because we have the link in the chat there for people to ask some questions. So I'll put that up on screen, and then yeah, we can go through the questions. Just wanted to say, first of all, Petra, thank you so much. That was an amazing talk. I really learned a lot, and related when you were talking about the rule of 7 and some of what you talked about. I was just thinking, whenever I reach out to people, I'm always afraid I'm going to piss them off. That's always going through my head. You know, when you mentioned that, I was just like, oh, actually, yeah, there's a different way of looking at it. If you have a clear offer, then maybe they won't get pissed off. Maybe they'll actually be curious. So we'll just share the Mentimeter on screen, guys. Min, are you able to do that? Is that okay?
Let's see.
Yeah.
I know we have a few questions on there already.
Yeah.
And as we're showing the Mentimeter, guys, if you have a specific question, then please, just raise your hand and we'll come to you as well.
Yeah. Did someone raise their hand, or did I miss that?
Yeah, go for it, Valentina.
It's me. Hello, I'm Petra. How are you?
Hi, Valentina.
So I was actually curious about, so all the presentation was very interesting, and I was curious about the AI, the marketing one. Is it because I hate social medias? I'm often in social medias, but I hate social medias. But is it only for social media, or do they also do other things like, I don't know, email marketing? Do they prefer other things?
Yeah, good question, and interesting that you said you hate social. I think many people can relate as well. Like, it's something that we feel like we have to do in today's world, not necessarily liking or loving it. And that's really why we have created this, because if you bare minimum, if you can do that without a lot of input or effort from your side, then that's something that we recommend. But right now, these are the two that we have developed. We have plans to do more later on, because as the great introduction from Marcia here said, that we want to help freelancers or solopreneurs or whoever with tasks that take a lot of time from their hands. So as we go, we will develop more. And also, we've got a request to do like add-ons. For example, with Sales Center, can we reply as well? Or with Marketing Rate, can we do more? Or can we do different types? So we're early on with this product, but any suggestions or wishes are welcome.
Okay, great. Because I remember I've seen the website a few months ago, and I remember the marketing one was in development. The sales one is there for a while, I think, and I was waiting for the marketing one to be ready. But okay, then I think I will. Not yet, not now, but in a few weeks or maybe months, I will book a demo for sure.
Sounds great. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So how do you delegate but still be original in your approach, content and posts? This is a really good question, and I think this is one of the trickiest things. How we approach it is that we have a human, and that's what we call human AI managers, right? Because we have a human overlay on top of the AI. So we have built an agentic flow, but then we also have a human that monitors it and oversees it. With that said, this is a $1 million question, I would say, because we are still seeing our work, and when you do things like this, to be somewhere between a virtual assistant and an AI. So no matter who you delegate it to, it's to find that special tone of voice and what makes you unique. But with that said, I would also encourage you not to just think about being original and unique in everything. Again, I wanted to do that in between with your personal notes, but most of the work is actually just showing up and doing the work. So there are two ways to look at it. Maybe you need to do the personal original stuff at least in the beginning, or you are very good at delegating that in terms of like working closely with the AI or with the virtual assistant in how to actually nail your unique tone of voice and your voice and your style and so on. Yeah, we have another question here. Do you have any advice on how to stand out to make a difference, specifically in a saturated market for freelancers? Oh, also $1 million question, right? Be you. Like, again, like we come back to the previous point. Be you. I have a favorite saying of like, and it's not about being original in any way, but if you think about it in the perspective of, okay, it's a saturated market, there are so many like me. If you just look at, okay, freelancers within marketing, for example, okay, there are going to be so many of you out there, but then you start to add layers. And if you add a layer of, okay, but freelancers within marketing who are SEO specialists that live in Glasgow, that speak these languages, that are specialized in HubSpot, so you see, the more you start to see, okay, what is my secret sauce? What are the things that makes me unique? The less people like you're gonna find.
That's great advice. Thank Petra. I will now scroll down to another one. I think we have a few. So is there a community group of freelancer that freelancer can join and network? So you're at the right place, Scotland Remote Workers. Hopefully that we'll have a lot of freelancers coming in. And if you follow us, we will then link you to other freelancer group as well. There's a question here. Does the tool help with researching the targeted audience too? I think Sales Sarah.
Yeah, and when it comes to sales, Sarah, like when it comes to both, we do set up an ideal client profile, so that we help you identify who that target audience should be. Specifically, when it comes to marketing, it's a little bit broader, but you still need to know your target audience, right? When it comes to sales, Sarah, yes, it's a little bit more specific. We do the same. We do set up an ideal client profile, but then we find you the leads. So you will get a lead list of 75 to 100 leads with names and companies they work at every month. So yeah, we do identify that.
That's awesome. Thank you. And the next one, do you have any real life example you can share of freelancers using agentic AI successfully?
Oh, good question. I don't actually. So I haven't heard this, since this is a very new. I do know people who are, or let me rephrase it. I do know a lot of like developers in that community setting up their own automation flows for different purposes. When it comes to general freelancers, since it's a very new way of working, I haven't come across a specific example that I can share with you right now, but I'm very curious to follow this and see. The most specific I can be without having like a specific example in mind is the ones who are building and they sort of like make money when you sleep systems. I'm not a huge fan of those, although I believe it works for a lot of people, but most of them have built the automation flow to work in the background for them.
I'm curious, Petra, about yourself, because you had Upbeater and then you started going into this agentic AI stuff. You said you're a serial entrepreneur. So I'm assuming before in your previous businesses, you started to use some automation processes and kind of realized that there was a gap, something not being served, and that led you to doing Upbeater. I'm just wondering what your own experience with automation was in the past.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So it's two ways with Upbeater. With Upbeater, we actually comes from helping freelancers. So in general, it was just like we need to, how do we help freelancers save time mainly? And then obviously with my background, helping companies work more, like optimizing their, especially operations, but also sales and marketing flows. And then the third point of the market just exploding with these opportunities of using all these tools. That's when we saw that, okay, there is an opportunity to do this at a cost that freelancers can afford. Because before, it hasn't been possible to actually do it at a price point where the freelancer can afford. You can build like all these systems, right? But it was more for enterprises or agencies or so on. But yeah, so I'm really excited about this era that we're in now.
Fantastic. And on that note, we're of the time. So I'm going to share the screen just for the last slide. So yeah, so first of all, thank you so much, Petra. That was very, very valuable to share all of your experience and your product. And we've shared the discount code on the chat as well. So yeah, feel free to take a note of that if you're interested on how to save time in your life and actually do the work that you need to do on your business and enjoy your free time as well. So just a reminder that we, as we presented at the start, that we are partnering up with the Social Hub. So if you paid attention throughout the whole session, please make sure to write a post either on social media, either one platform or all of them, if you really want this free day pass at the Social Hub. They really have so much in their space. I don't know if you've ever been, but they have co-working spaces, they have gym, they have yoga classes, they have auditorium, and they even have a rooftop bar. So yeah, you can go there for free and enjoy your co-working day. And yes, so make sure to describe what you've learned today and tag Scott Remote Workers, the Social Hub, and Upbeater. So yes, I would like to thank you so much, Petra, for your time, for sharing all of these fantastic tips and insights, and for sharing like your whole own structure like as well. That was very, very detailed. So yeah, so thank you so much as well, everyone that attended today, for your time and making the time to attend the session.